Seattle Seahawks Today is presented by Magic Spoon. Healthy cereal that tastes too good to be true. MagicSpoon.com/Seahawks. Use that URL to get $5 off your first order. Coming up on today's show, a look at the top Seahawks offseason winners. I'm including Russell Wilson on that list. Now, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but I'm pretty excited about Russell Wilson and several things I think he wanted to get that he got in the offseason. Defensively, we will look at Darrell Taylor, among others, what type of impact he might have. And as we always do here on Seattle Seahawks Today, we'll give you guys the opportunity to get your thoughts and speak your mind in the comments section. I'll ask you guys for your biggest off-season winners. We'll also hit some other topics I didn't tease just now. That's all coming up on today's video. Now, before we dive in, it is Customer Service Month here at Seattle Seahawks Today. So I want to know from you guys, how likely are you to recommend us to a Seahawks fan? Rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being never, 10 being absolutely to every single person that I know. We're aiming for 8s or higher. So get your votes in and let me know if it's not an 8, 9, or 10, what we can do to get that number a little bit higher. Let's start off then with Russell Wilson, as promised. There was plenty of, I know for Seahawks fans, frustrating and annoying off-season drama, the trade speculation, which was never going to happen, as I said many times on this show, around Russell Wilson. I think, though, that for Russ, overall, this was mostly a positive off-season. He got a lot of the things that he wanted, at least as far as I'm concerned. And now, look, this is going to be a big season in terms of playoff success for Russell Wilson. But think about what Seattle did to help out Russ. They hired Shane Waldron, which appeared to be the preferred target for Russell Wilson, coming from the Sean McVay miracle coaching tree. The team also added more weapons on offense. Gerald Everett, Dwayne Eskridge. And they upgraded the offensive line. 3 things that I think Russell Wilson really wanted. Not bad for a team with little to no cap space at the time. In the end, for Russ, good offseason or not, he's got to be better down the stretch. Now, it was not all his fault. I think for the most part, we are all in agreement on that one. But first 7-game Russ was MVP favorite. The last 9 games, it just wasn't quite the same. Things did not go the way that Seattle needed them to go on offense in general. So I'm a big believer in Russell Wilson, the top 5 quarterback who maybe one day will finally get to win an MVP award. But I think this is a good offseason, at least so far, for him. Now, if you guys want an off-season losers video, because there are some losers, that is life, do me a favor, share today's video. If we get enough shares, that's a clear sign to me that, yes, you guys want that. So if you want it, simple. Share this video on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever. Over to defense now on the off-season winners. I'm going with Darrell Taylor. Now, last year could not have gone any worse for Taylor. Couldn't get on the field, was hurt the entire time, was a disappointment for his first year from all facets. Just didn't help out, right? The Seahawks, though, and I give them a lot of credit here, are being creative, finding a way to get Darrell Taylor on the field. In a defense that should feature more bare fronts in their base defensive package, Darrell Taylor is set to play the strong side linebacker role. Now, as a reminder / emphasis point, the strong side linebacker role for what this Seahawks defense will look like is not going to be that different than a typical edge rusher. Darrell Taylor's not going to be lined up over guards, as a true off-ball linebacker. He'll be out there on the edge. He'll be standing up. It's not going to look that different than a 3-4 outside linebacker. And it's a role that Taylor has played in the past and in college at Tennessee. 10 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. Yeah, he'll probably drop into coverage a little bit, but it's not like he's going to be out there man-to-man on tight ends every single play or even hook zones in the middle of the field that often. Taylor's primary goal still will be to rush the passer. So make your predictions for me. How many sacks for Darrell Taylor this year? Growth's going to happen. It's not going to be 0. I would almost bet all of my money on that. So make your predictions. Let me know in the comments how many sacks you think Darrell Taylor is going to have this season. As mentioned, today's show is made possible by Magic Spoon. Past couple years, I haven't really been eating breakfast. It's just the good stuff, the taste good stuff, I should say, not healthy for me. The healthy stuff, it tastes like cardboard too often. Then I found Magic Spoon. It tastes like that sugary cereal that we grew up with. It tastes like Fruit Loops, the fruity version does. And yet, it is way healthier than Fruit Loops has ever been. 0 sugar, 4 net grams of carbs, 13 grams of protein as well. That's pretty standard across the board. Of course, they've got a ton of different flavors, from cocoa to frosted to peanut butter, blueberry. List goes on and on. It is healthy cereal that tastes too good to be true. High in protein, 13 or 14 grams of protein in every bowl. It's low in carbs, only 4 grams of net carbs per bowl. And it tastes sugary despite there being no sugar. So try yours today. Get a box or 4 at magicspoon.com/Seahawks. A link will be in the comment section and in the description for you guys to click. Let's head now to Ethan Pocic. Now, on this off-season winners list, sometimes because a player balled out in minicamp or OTAs, sometimes it's because of what the organization did. And that's why Pocic is on here. He is in line to start once again at center. The team brought him back on a fairly cheap deal and didn't really bring in any competition for him. Is it really going to be Kyle Fuller, Brad Lundblade? Are they going to move Damian Lewis to center if they had another guard? I mean, maybe, but probably not, right? So in all likelihood, Ethan Pocic is getting another shot at center. Unless the team brings in somebody else, he's the guy as the linchpin at center. And Pocic does need to be better. I wouldn't say he was a disaster last year, but he wasn't quite as good as the Seahawks have benefited in the past from top-end center. So I'm hoping to see a better Pocic this year. In theory, a real training camp, a real preseason will benefit a player like Pocic, who hasn't got to really play that much outside of last season. So as promised, I want you guys now to name the player, or players if you want to go bold and above and beyond and whatever, the biggest Seahawks offseason winner. This question is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and get your votes in. Back to defense right now. That is Poona Ford, the defensive tackle who not only got paid, is also primed to have a bigger role this year, at least potentially for Seattle. Look, he's played plenty in the past, but more often than not was counted on as being the undersized nose guard. I wonder if we'll see more pass rush and better pass rush opportunities this year for Poona Ford. Jarran Reed is gone, and Ford is now, I think the unquestioned, top interior defensive lineman on this team. And he was better last year. 2020 marked a season of growth for Poona Ford out of Texas. 2 sacks was substantial growth. His pressure rate, we'll round and say, doubled more or less. That's really good. Now, I doubt it doubles again this year. If it goes up by another 50%, that's top-end production. Probably won't happen in the end. But Poona Ford is the guy this team is counting on. Well, maybe L.J. Collier too, but Al Woods can help stop the run, so can Brian Monet and maybe Cedric Latimer. But Seattle needs an interior pass rush boost. That happened late last year when Jarran Reed kind of got his feet back under him and played really well down the stretch. Seattle needs that interior pass rush option. I don't know if it ends up being Poona Ford, but I hope that it is, since Seattle did just pay him after all. Now, if you guys want more Seahawks coverage, hit that big red button and subscribe. I know it's kind of a dead period right now in the offseason, but training camp's almost here, and we're going to keep you guys up to date with what's going on. So if you want the best Seahawks coverage out there, hit that big red button and subscribe today. Over to offense now for one last time on our off-season winners list. Penny Hart, and this is based on his play at minicamp. Pete Carroll hyped up Penny Hart. The media down there, media at OTA's minicamp had a lot of praise for Hart as well. Now, he's shown practice flashes in the past, dating back to his college, draft bowls and Shrine and Senior Bowl. He was very impressive there. But he's still fighting for a roster spot again this year. Metcalf, Lockett, Eskridge are locks. I'd say Freddie Swain is pretty safe to make the roster. That leaves John Asura, Hart, Kay Johnson, Connor Weddington, and plenty of others fighting for 1 to maybe 3 spots. And Penny Hart is a player that Pete Carroll's liked in the past, and I think he has a real chance to make the roster once again. So what do you think? Will Penny Hart end up making the Seahawks 53-man roster this year? Get your votes in for me in the comment section. Y for yes or N for no. Back now to Marquise Blair. This is all about the injury side of it. Now, Marquise Blair missed almost all of last season due to a torn ACL. Was supposed to be a breakout year. He'd earned the starting role at nickel corner and then gets hurt. Brutal break for Marquise Blair. But he was able to be at least a part-time participant at minicamp and OTAs. That's a big deal for a player coming off an ACL tear, even if it was early in the year. Seattle could have been cautious. They wanted to get him reps, and they put him out there. That's a really good sign for a player who, frankly, needs a breakout year. Marquise Blair was drafted as a free safety, but Seattle got Quandre Diggs, and he's been awesome for them. So to get their second pick on the field, they moved him down into nickel corner. And for a player who didn't really ever play nickel corner before, he fared pretty well. Now, there's still plenty of room for him to grow and show progress, but I think the Seattle Times is right when they say Blair is still the front runner to be the nickel corner for this team, over Ugo Amadi, who is the top competition as we sit right now. If Blair can have a true breakout season, that's going to be a very big deal for an organization that at least has some semblance of uncertainty right now at the cornerback position. Again, I want to thank everyone who gave us an 8, 9, or 10 in that poll we asked you guys earlier. If you did, do us a favor. Recommend Seattle Seahawks Today to a friend right now.